gotta wait for the camera director back there to tell us. So, hey, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming. I think I tried to go out and, oh yeah, I forgot we have people online. I forget about the people online. Hey, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming in person, and those that are online, thank you for joining us online for this opportunity, this town hall meeting, the chance to listen to and ask questions of our mayor and our fire chief and our police chief. So just a few housekeeping items before we get going, and then I'll introduce them and turn the time over to Mayor Chadwick. Some people have submitted some questions in advance, and that's fantastic. We can ask them those questions and look forward to those answers.
Stand up.
I'm in.
Okay.
I'm in. I've got the microphone right here. And so if you guys have questions, I'll bring the microphone around. And the reason we'd ask you to use the microphone is for our people that are online so that they can hear us as well. And then I think I tried to get everybody as they were coming in, but I will pass around the sign-in sheet. If you have not had a chance to sign in, if you would please, just so we can kind of keep track of everybody that's with us today. And so without further ado, I want to introduce our fire chief, Chief Chief Timinsky, and he will be able to tell a little bit about himself here in a little bit. Our police chief, Chief Hessing, and he also will be able to introduce himself a little bit. And then, of course, our honored mayor, Mayor Trevor Chadwick. So without further ado, Mr. Mayor, we'll turn it over to you.
I'm not sure on the honored part, right? So when do you want them to introduce? Anytime? You want to have them talk about themselves first?
If you'd like to do that.
Let's do that. Let's have Chief Timinsky just say who you are. Information. Yeah, hit the button there for the big green. Sure.
So I'm Greg Timinsky. I'm your fire chief. I've been with Star for 10 years now. Before that, I spent 20 plus years in Caldwell. We've made a lot of progress in Star as a fire district since 2013 when I came here. In 2013, the fire district was not in very good financial shape, and it was actually in partnership, semi kind of a merger with Eagle Fire, because they were financially just couldn't do it. And so we've fixed that over the last 10 years, and the fire district is in good shape, and we're growing, and we're really here to see if we're, part of our conversation while we decided to do this was to see if we're meeting your guys' expectations and what you expect out of your fire district. And I think Chief Hessing is going to ask the same thing, what the expectation is of the police department, and if he's meeting that. So I'm happy to be here, that you've all showed up online and offline in person. That's great. Look forward to questions. Thank you.
Okay, Chief.
My name is Zach Hessing. I'm here with the Star Police Department. Grateful for the opportunity again to speak to the public. This is an idea that came up and we've talked about. And I just as long with Chief Timinsky and the mayor here, I'm excited to hear questions and see what you all are interested in and what the Star Police Department can do. Just a little about myself. I've been in law enforcement for just over 14 years. I've been out in Star. I came in as a patrol deputy back in 2016. And then became chief of police about a year and a half ago when Chief Vogt promoted within the Ada County Sheriff's Office to a different spot. It's kind of neat. I think 2003 was the first contract that the city of Star did with Ada County Sheriff's Office for Star Police. We had one deputy out here at that time. In 26, just to let you know how fast we've grown in the Star Police Department. Is 2016 we had a total of 4 patrol deputies, 1 detective, and a chief. We didn't even have 24-hour coverage when I first got here. I was a late swing shift guy that when I went home at 3:15 in the morning, there wasn't a Star deputy. Now we had Ada County Sheriff's Office, North County deputy that would come and help. But from 3:15 to 0600, we didn't have a Star deputy. Well, now we have 8 patrol deputies. We almost have 2 patrol deputies per shift. So they're not all on at the same time, but just about 2 patrol deputies per shift when no one's sick or on vacation. We have 2 detectives, we have 2 sergeants, and then me as the chief, and actually the admin assistant that we hired about a year and a month ago. that helps with the front office stuff. So we've grown quite a bit. We love our new station that we just moved into. It's great to have the extra room and be able to look forward to what brings next. But we are grateful for the support the city of Star has given us. We love the fact that we go out, we meet with the public, they shake hands, they smile at us, they wave. They wave well at us. So it's a good thing. And we really do love this city. And anything we can do that you all are seeing that maybe we can give a better product, better service, where our ears are open. So let us know.
Perfect. And I'm Trevor Chadwick. I'm the mayor here in Star. I met my wife out here in Star in 1993. I graduated Boise High School and downtown Boise, and my family's been in Idaho since before the state was a state. Just so you guys know, I've been here a long, long, long time. There's a history of politics in my family. My grandfather was lieutenant governor and a senator here in Idaho. My dad was chief deputy attorney general here in Idaho, and also the executive director of the Association of Counties for 30 years almost. So we got a lot of history here in Idaho on everything that's happened, right, for a long time. I'm glad everybody's here. I've done some of these in the past where we didn't get a whole bunch of folks. Is that really scratchy sounding? So let me lower that down. How about now? Can we hear it? Okay. I've done some of these in the past where we just get a few people or nobody shows up. So it's kind of nice to get folks to show up because it's important, because this is our community. It's not my community. It's not the council's community. It's our community. So we need to talk about the questions you guys have, the concerns, the things that are going well, and just keep a civil dialogue. I mean, that's the most important part for me. And this is a civil dialogue in this whole discussion. The one thing we can't do, if it's an active application, we can't talk about that in here, just so everybody's aware of that. Okay. So like Willowbrook, for instance, is an active application. We can't discuss that in a forum like this, only in the public hearing according to law. Okay. Just want to make sure everybody's aware of that up front. So with that, if you guys want to shoot some questions out, or if you want me to talk about something specific, please ask me, because there's a whole bunch and I'm an open book. Yeah.
I've got two questions if I may.
Sure.
One is the.
Sorry. I got to do it on the microphone because we got people online too. So
My first question is regarding House Bill 76, which is basically limiting the ability of HOAs to keep farm animals and planting of crops in yards in HOAs. At this point, this has not been voted on. I know it is going through the House at this time.
right.
What's the city's position on that? Obviously, having chickens and cattle and other
So
things in HOAs.
So we've asked some questions about that bill. It doesn't really, limit us from regulating that as a city. And we'll still have those regulations in place where we limit the size of the yard that you have to have in order to have chickens and cows and pigs and things like that. So that's our understanding of that bill so far through our legal on that. We are revamping some of this because of honestly, who would have thought eggs were going to cost $8 a friggin' dozen or whatever it was, right? And so lots of people want chickens, but it's okay if we have chickens under certain circumstances in our yards and stuff. No roosters, obviously. No one wants to wake up to a crowing rooster out here, and you got to be able to contain them in your yard, right? And so these are things that our staff is working on, trying to work on the language for that. We have some stuff in our code, but it needs to be strengthened up and for us to have a better code for these guys to, I guess, enforce. Yeah, what was that word on there?
My second question probably has to do more with the chief, but certainly
Sure.
the mayor as well. Golf carts. The federal government now is cracking down on golf carts. You can't buy a new golf cart without a VIN number on it. Used to be the golf carts only had serial numbers. Now what's happening is that the county is beginning to put some limitations. They want to generate the revenues from actually having to register and license golf carts. They're looking for golf carts to be fully street legal. They're looking for golf carts to have insurance. Minors without driver's licenses can't drive them. At this point, I know the city of Eagle is kind of wrestling with that. Theoretically, they've even put together a task force to kind of watch that, but there hasn't been any enforcement action yet. A lot of the neighbors we have been talking about golf carts, and I've seen several of them on city streets. Where is that going?
I'll let you answer, then I'll answer a little bit on where we're going, Ryan.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I mean, just over the last couple of years, the changes that have come with that. I mean, before you couldn't, your UTVs, your golf carts, those weren't street legal. You couldn't ride them, down a road. They then changed that to where you could ride them on a road that's 55 miles an hour or slower. Well, now you can ride them down Highway 16, which I think is crazy on how fast Highway 16 is. So there's been a lot of changes with UTVs and what they can be used for and golf carts. I'm guessing part of the issue they're running into is a lot more people. We've seen them in the city of Star. There's UTVs driving up and down the streets here in the city of Star. They have to be insured because they're on a street. They have to be that they have a off highway road plate that some of them come with. So it's ever evolving, and it's interesting because it causes issues on our side because it's so changing so much. We need to make sure that every July we look at the laws and see how those laws are in place. And sometimes it's hard for us to read between the lines of what the legislation's asking for us on that and how we can enforce those things. And so I know it's very gray, and I probably didn't answer your question there, but the reason why they're asking for the registration stuff for those type of things is because they're getting more and more where people are using like almost everyday vehicle. I mean, we have a family that drops off kids at Star Elementary every morning in a UTV. Well, 2 years ago, we would have been citing them saying you can't do that. Now they can. So it's ever changing. So my card's right here. I can look deeper into it and reach out with you and talk with you about it and see. But that's kind of all I know for now on it.
So from a city standpoint, we've actually looked at, do we want to make this a golf cart style community with trails and pathways to get people to and from different places, right? You can get golf carts in all sorts of places, especially with these newer higher end golf carts that we're seeing down here, right? So, I mean, we keep talking about it. We really haven't gone anywhere with that yet because we're still trying to work on our master pathway and plan for the community. So, yeah. Right there, Mr. Ryan.
Hi. So you spoke about your master plan, and I'm just curious what that is for Star. Star is a charming town. We'd kind of like to keep some of that charm. But we've noticed like you've got 2 auto parts stores right together, a gas station. What is your goal for like long-term shopping to pull in people to entice businesses to come in that might encourage shopping and dining?
Okay. So is that still working? I can't hear it up there. So we actually on that map that's on the far left corner there is our comprehensive plan with all the colors on it, just so you're aware. So we actually have gone through 2 iterations of that in the last 3 years of updating that with our commercial area and our residential areas by reducing densities in the residential size. When you're talking about charm, right? I've always said that the charm isn't how many houses you have, it's how we treat each other and how we react and interact with each other as a community. It's not about how many houses we have or how many businesses we have, or if we have 2. I mean, I call it the east side and the west side, right? Basically, you got an auto parts store on the east side and an auto parts store on the west side. We're going to have, we have Albertsons on one side, Ridley's on the other, and then the gatekeeper, which is the Merc right here in the middle, right? As we grow, these entities are going to want to come into the city of Star. We as a city are not in the business of picking winners and losers in business. No one in Idaho is based on our codes, right? It's up to the community to decide who they're going to support and who they're going to shop with. We have lots of conversations. There's probably 17 other facilities that are supposed to be built if they can get some stuff done with ACHD, which will enhance some of our dining experiences and some of our other shopping experiences, right? Do I want to see some smaller boutique style shops? Absolutely. Right. I love to see the community out here investing their money in those shops. But the reality is until some of these TI places, which are tenant improvement places that are being built in front of Albertsons are done, there's no place for people to go put their shops. Most people can't afford to spend $1 million on a building and then bring their business into that building to survive. Right. And so we're trying to find ways to get that stuff done here. All along the Highway 44 corridor here is all business. And we've changed our code to limit the amount of residential within that business community, where it's not like other communities where you can have, in a mixed use area, you could have like 75% residential. We flipped that. We said you can only have 25% residential and 75% commercial in Star. So just so you're aware, I mean, that's the kind of things that we're doing. We put an architectural overlay district in place when we did our South of the River plan in the CBD that requires certain features to be added into the buildings so we could try to keep that consistent theme. A lot of times when Nampa Auto Parts first got built, a lot of comments were made, well, oh my God, that thing looks so industrial over there. Well, that's their model. I mean, unless you have something in place, that's what they're gonna build, right? But now we have different things where we have this mountain modern look that we want with some stone, some woodwork, whether it's using real wood or phenolic style materials that look like wood. You know, that's our goal, is to try to get this consistent theme through our town with that. Did that answer your question in about 10 minutes?
10 minutes. No, I'm sorry. And then, so you said along Highway 44, would that be, so 16, sorry, 16 all the
Highway
way
16.
over to Lindor?
Well, it would go, we only going to go down to about Palmer, is
Okay.
as far as
So
the
is
city of
that
Star will
gonna
go.
be all industrial right along 44, like right next to the houses?
No, it's not industrial. It's more commercial. There's Wright Brothers is building their commercial headquarters down there for their construction company. So you'll see that construction is happening right across from Eagle Christian Church.
Right.
It's a 3-story building. That's Wright Brothers, but they're following our architectural guidelines with that as well. So it's going to be a really nice looking building. There is a right on, and that whole thing is called Junction Crossing, right? So on the west side of where the Wright Brothers building is going, I call it kind of like a mini village style development with all this commercial in there and some residential on top of commercial on the backside in front of all those fourplexes. That'll happen in that area. So that stuff is in the works. That was approved this last year, and they're working on tenants and stuff for that area.
And along that, will it be kept nice with some
Yeah.
trees and plantings?
Oh, absolutely.
That's part of what drew us out here.
Sure.
Was nature and not obstructing the views of the mountains.
So we have a height limitation of 35 feet unless they get a variance on that. On some of these commercial buildings, we're going to have a variance to have these nicer facilities like that. And that one, Wright Brothers, I think, has a variance on there, right? Was it 45 feet or 50 feet? Okay, 50 feet on that one. But we do have a lot of trees that we require in our code. And we've improved our sidewalk sizes to like 8 feet out there along Highway 44 and down some of our collectors as well. So anywhere from 7 to 10 feet on different locations like that. Okay, right here, Mr. Ryan.
You had, I guess it was a couple of years ago, you had put together a plan for south of the river.
Uh-huh.
I'd like to know kind of like what the status
Sure.
is on that. And if you have people already coming in other than I saw a home development down there by Chinden.
Yep.
And also, it's a biggie for me. Do you have any plans to pave the trail, the Riverwalk Trail down by the river?
Yep. Okay. So 2 questions there. So the South of River plan is actually a plan, if you guys are not aware of, you can get it on our website under the, what is your department again? Planning and zoning. God, I've only been working there for a long time, but in the planning and zoning department, the South of River plan is actually there. It shows you a document that talks about the plan and it shows you a map. So it goes from the river all the way up to Chinden. So parts of that plan are being executed with that home developer, but also with that home developer, all the land along 2026 Chinden there, and a big chunk of it along Star Road on these sites, all commercial. So it's all part of this master plan up there. We have had entities interested in the lower land portion, but again, that's up to the home or the farmer out there if they're wanting to sell that. So we don't know if that'll ever transpire. It may be 10 years. It may be 15 years. We never know. If we keep the cows and stuff, I'm okay with that too. I like to see the cattle and the calves in the spring and all that as well. But we wanted to master plan that entire area where when that time comes, it just doesn't become row houses, right? We wanted to make sure that we can create an environment that is good for our city with some commercial. I look at it like a San Antonio Riverwalk, the North Carolina Riverwalks. You kind of combine them all a little bit, where you have some outdoor entertainment, some canalways that maybe you can paddleboard through. You have entertainment coming up to it, different things like that, right? And so we put that plan in place so when people do buy that, they know what the city's looking for in that area. Now, the service is already out there. You know, they was it a year or 2 years ago, they ran sewer and water lines out there to a lift station. You know, so that puts more pressure where people are going to be more interested in buying that because the services are there. Now, the Greenbelt part of it, or the Star Riverwalk, the portion that's along the river itself is probably not going to be paved because the Army Corps won't allow us. However, with that said, from the Star River House on this side, we are going to concrete that around that first pond and roll it back. And we just got a grant that we've been working on a crossing over the river to that BLM land to put a bridge in there. And they're working on that. With that, we can get down towards Highway 16 and bring it back across and then connect to the Greenbelt where you can end up getting the Lucky Peak here in a couple of years. Yeah, there'll be a bridge that goes over the river, a pedestrian bridge. Yeah. It does end at a farm. We got to.
Yeah, so we got people online. Sorry. So the question was that she's taking the river walk and it ends at the farm.
It ends at that on the end there, and then at that point it would cross over to that BLM land over the river. So, well, we're doing the grant right now. So she asked for the timeline on that. So the grant's already happened. We've done some walks on it. They're putting all the information together, and I think here by the summer we're supposed to probably get the data on that. Is that correct, Mr. Ryan Morgan, our city engineer?
We have a meeting coming up in 2 weeks that we are going to discuss the first phase of findings. And then we have another meeting in April. And this plan is supposed to be finalized early June. And then after all the studies are done, then we can start looking at the actual construction drawings.
Yep. So let's move it along. The beauty is along our Boise River here, we have a 30-acre parcel of BLM land that's just right along the river. It's not accessible to anybody unless we get a bridge across. Then just further, just a little bit to the east, we have another probably 25 to 30 acres of Idaho State Department lands that are down there. So we're trying to interconnect all this with the 60 acres that we already have with the Freedom Park over there with the ponds and kind of have this really cool outdoor amenity for all of us here in the community. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, we love listening to you talk, but I wanted to see if either of the chiefs had any comments on the topics that we've addressed thus far.
I don't really have any comments on them. We review them as they come in and give them our findings that we would require, but I don't really have any comments on them.
When it comes to the Star River Walk area, we've had several meetings with Boise City, their law enforcement over there, the prosecutor's office, Meridian, Garden City, Eagle, and us. And one of the issues that Boise is seeing with the Greenbelt area is that people are riding these new electric bikes. Like we talk about UTVs going on the road. Well, these electric bikes will do 30, 35 miles an hour down these paths. Obviously, it's a dangerous thing when people are walking their dogs or walking on Greenbelt, and then they have these quick speeding electric bikes going down the path. So we're trying to figure out, and it's in the beginning stages of having a uniform ordinance throughout that of how to enforce that. That the problem that we're running into, or the problem that I see and that I've spoke about in those meetings, is when there's no way I can't point a radar at people riding their bike down the path, right? It doesn't look good for one. And two, I don't know what the health benefits for radar being pointed at people. I don't know, but it doesn't look good. And so we're trying to figure out, how do we enforce it? We do say, okay, you got to do 10 miles an hour or less. How do we enforce that? And so some of the topics, just so you all know, some of the topics that have come up about it is, okay, maybe we put signs out there that will tell them their speed. And then when they get to a certain speed, it'll start blinking, tell them they need to slow down, and maybe enforce it that way. And hopefully they're good people where they see that and they're like, oh, okay, I need to slow down a little bit. I know the Eagle has two officers that are just designated just to go up and down the bike path. They have their electric bikes that they can ride around on and enforce some of that and try to ask for compliance. But the problem that we have, each city has a different ordinance. So the problem is people ride on these, they don't know if they're going into a different jurisdiction and maybe that there's a different ordinance there. So we're trying to make it uniform all the way across, clear out to us. And I don't know if we'll go into Canyon, how far that green belt's going to go. If it goes clear over to Middleton at some point, I'd imagine that some type of path is going to follow the river. But just know that all those conversations are taking place so we can make sure that it's a fun environment for everybody. They can enjoy that green belt. I go down and ride the green belt quite a bit. Kids love it. So that's the only thing I have to add to it.
Rides it with a one wheel.
Thank you. I have a question about a light
Okay.
on Palmer. I've heard that there is a plan to put a light. We live in the Riverstone community, which
Okay.
is just behind the Eagle Christian Church. It's a wonderful area. We love it. Newly moved into the area, but the traffic is bad getting
It is.
off of 44.
Yep.
You're trying to get into the median lane and traffic behind you is wanting to pass everybody on the right. So it's really fast. And then there's, traffic oncoming that's trying to get to the opposite side of the Eagle Christian Church. So I try to go through like the Stoneheart access to Moon Valley Way or Palmer, but I've heard that there might be a plan for a light or some kind of, traffic improvement there, which would be so great.
There is. That is a dangerous intersection. And we recognize that. And I've been, for us as Star, we've actually been, it's not really in Star yet, but it's on the board, but we have been in the forefront of getting all 5 agencies together. I've told them it's going to be about $2 million light is what it's going to cost, right? With the widening and all the work that they have to do. But I said, if each agency throws $400,000 in this thing, we get this thing done in a hurry. We don't have to rely on one agency. And that's what we're trying to do. Trying to get the ACHD, ITD, Ada County, the city of Eagle, and the city of Star all together on the same page. We'll take the lead on it and get it done. We just need the help with the financing part of it because we don't have $2 million in the coffers to go pay for that light by ourselves. So we are working on this. I don't have a timeline, but we can get some information out as soon as we have our final meetings with them on that. Yeah. And it's gonna be, when they did that highway widening out here last summer, we asked ITD ahead of time, put the conduits in the ground so it doesn't take so long. We don't have to tear up the road again. And they did. So the conduits are in the ground for that light. It's just a matter of getting the agencies together to get the funding secured and an agreement put in place so we can get it done. Yep. Just real quick, is there questions over here first? I keep talking this way. Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Hi again. 2 things. Again, one thing I happened to witness. Somebody had an incident in our neighborhood. I'm in the Riverstone. And I was just impressed with the amount of resources that responded to this, house thing. It was, I know. But we followed them in and it was fast. Eagle responded, Star responded. So I was really impressed seeing that. So I just wanted to say thank you and thank whoever for that.
Do you want to talk to the cooperation agreements that you guys have real quick, maybe on responses on both of those?
Sure. Was it a fire response or?
Was it a fire response?
Yeah, it was a fire response. It's a new house and my husband was there and I was not.
Was he cooking?
That's what I said. If I'd have been there, we would have said dinner's ready.
That's right. Yeah, right.
No, but a new house and apparently there was some construction debris still in the furnace and it ended up causing white smoke in the upstairs level. So like I said, I was out of town, but I think as my neighbor has said, there were a lot of fire engines, a lot of, fantastic response there. And we really appreciate it.
So what the mayor's talking about is we have automatic aid agreements throughout Ada County. And when we have certain call types like a structure fire, a car accident, a heart attack, stroke, there's several others, the closest units get called. And so Star, because Star Fire District and Middleton Fire District are merged the operations into one, we will get some from that side and it will get the closest from the Eagle side as well. So The closest stations were engine 51, engine 52, which is on Kingsbury, and engine 43, which is in Eagle. And that's just automatic that they come to all those types of calls. And it all depends on where in the county it is on which units will come. But we have automatic aid agreements with all of our neighbors. You're welcome. Thank you.
And I mean, it's similar on the police side as well. So I don't know, you want to talk to that one too?
So yeah, the one nice thing about, so I kind of mentioned at the beginning of this. So we're started a contract city with the Ada County Sheriff's Office for police services. So what that states, I'm actually a lieutenant at the Ada County Sheriff's Office, but signed to the Chief of Police for City of Star or Star Police Department. That what really works well is the amount of resources. I mean, Ada County is the largest law enforcement agency in Idaho. We have a lot of resources we can pull from there if anything big comes up. Well, for what happened here, I wouldn't say it's big. However, we need a quick response just in case something happens. Nice thing is Eagle Police Department, they're the same way. They're a contract city as well. It's contract city. And then we have North County. And so whatever agency is closest, whether it's Eagle sometimes gets dispatched to Star because our Star deputies are at one end of the city and work on something where Eagle connects over by Highway 16. So they can respond to domestics or fire alarms or, entry alarms, whatever it might be. So it really works extremely well with quick responses. And one of the things that we put in place, the mayor and I talked about, and we wanted there is a quick response. We're trying to always get, if it's a code 3 call, when I say code 3, it means lights and siren. We're coming fast. It's an emergency. Always to get wherever in the city within less than 4 minutes, because we know that every second counts. And so far, we've done a really good job on keeping below that, and that's our goal. So I'm glad to hear that it was a good response and there. So.
And it's the same thing, I think, on the firearm response times, right? Is it 4 minutes or less on the fire?
For fire, it's 5 minutes or
5 minutes
less.
less. Little bigger vehicle to get around stuff. Right?
We have to put different clothes on.
Ryan, right here. Yeah, they got to put different clothes on when they respond. They got to get out of their comfy lounge and get their clothes on. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I think like many people, I'm interested in the development that's going on in the
Sure.
city. And I have a couple questions, if that's okay.
Sure.
So the first one is, has to do with, I know that, when there's annexation and development agreements that are discussed during the city council meetings, certainly watch that online or what have you. But if you miss that, and obviously from that point until whatever it is, the subdivision or what have you developed, there's a lot going on in the city. And is there any one place to go to see all of the ongoing, either residential or commercial or what have you, sort of what's been approved? If I missed it, the city council meeting, then I won't see it. Is there anywhere else that I can?
So we don't have a specific place for that. We do have a subdivision map that's being updated that shows all the subdivisions that have been approved with their zoning. We do have in our development agreements, and I know Ryan does a good job of keeping track of this because of everything going on, and making certain that these two Ryans, this R squared, Ryan Morgan, our city engineer, and Ryan Field, he kind of holds many hats over here. They actually go out and inspect the subdivisions and making sure that they're following the development agreements and stuff that we put in place, right? And so we're looking at that. We didn't have development agreements on a lot of things prior to 2020, I would guess, right? 2019. Very few of those developments that were approved back then had those agreements in place, which is crazy, right? When Sean got on board, I think 2019, is that when you came on board? 2019, he really was focused on the development agreement aspect of it because that ties that land. It goes with that land when it gets sold or whatnot, that they still have to follow those rules that we put in place. Like the number of houses, if there's certain houses that need to be single story, street width, setbacks, if we're given any waivers on setbacks, or if they're going to, and we're not, thanks to Mr. Chief right here, we're kind of quit doing the waivers on the setback stuff on there for good reason. And then if we require, if the pathways are going to be public or different things like that for that development, right? Those are now tied into those development agreements that they follow as the developments are happening.
So there is some place online that I can go to see the list of all the.
Well, it won't be in a list format. It'll be on a map format. Now, there is a report that we do have on building permits themselves. That's being provided once a month, I think at the first of the month. At the first of the month, that shows each subdivision that has development going on and how many housing permits by month are happening in that development. And it also shows you how many commercial permits we've issued versus commercial TIs, tenant improvements versus remodels and some miscellaneous stuff on there. So you can kind of follow it that way on there. The subdivision side, that's I don't know. Can you do something like that? Let's think that through to see if there's something that we could put together that would be easy for everybody to look at online.
It takes some work, obviously.
Well,
It's easy to ask for it, but I know it has.
We do have one report that he puts together for me every month that shows every single subdivision in the city of Star and the acreage of it and stuff like that. But it's not it's just in alphabetical order, I think. Maybe is that something that we can share? I don't know. We'll look at that and see what we can make it so it's easy for everybody to look at.
And the other one maybe is a little more complicated because it has to do with the roadways,
Mhm.
highways, that kind of thing. I guess I'm having a hard time figuring out who is responsible for what when it comes to, maybe we're going to put a roundabout here, we're going to, expand this road there. Is that ITD? Is it?
So let me explain this one. This is a fun one for me. So we have actually for City of Star, we have three different highway districts that we deal with. We have a very unique situation in Ada County that happened in the 70s that created Ada County Highway District. All cities and all the county is controlled by one department on the local streets, and that's Ada County Highway District. So like Floating Feather, New Hope, the internal streets of the subdivisions, unless it's a private street, are all controlled by Ada County Highway District. And so we have a commissioner that's elected that's supposed to represent us, but this last year kind of got hosed up. Yeah, it's changed, but we're tied in with North Boise. So we don't have the same, that commissioner is doing all, but to be fair, she's reaching out to me and meeting with me on a monthly basis right now to talk about what the issues we have in Star. So the Ada County Highway District is the one that controls all that on the Ada County side. Now, Canyon County is different. We're on Canyon County also. Each city in Canyon County has their own highway department unless they're have an agreement in place with the highway district that's established over there. We have an agreement in place with Canyon Highway District 4 because we don't have our own highway department or our own roadway department. And so they build the roads and they maintain the roads over there according to how we want them with ACHD, so we keep everything consistent. Okay. So
that goes just to Canada, right?
it just goes to Canada, and Canada East is all Ada County Highway District. Now, the three state highways, we got 2026, 44 right here, and 16 are all controlled by Idaho Transportation Department. We, in 2020, put a thing in place. It's called a proportionate share, where every new house that was built contributes almost $1,000, depends on the development, to that proportionate share agreement to help fund unfunded sections of the state highway that are not funded through the state of Idaho currently. And so this project we're doing that created the nightmare the other night down here on the other side is being funded through that proportionate share process. It's the only one like that right now in the state of Idaho that we're doing that, right? We got the benefit with ITD right now of doing the Highway 16 project, the 2026 project, right? At the end of 2024, they're going to widen this section of Star Road from Star Road. I'm sorry, this section of 44 from Star Road to Highway 16. So in a couple of years, we'll have a 5-lane segment right here. We'll have a 5-lane segment over here. We'll have a connection. Star Road right now, using that proportionate share money, we're running that project as a city for ITD. So when you're talking about roundabouts and stuff, we do see roundabouts on the plans at times. Not everybody's, some people like them, some people don't. And so we have discussions about that with our commissioners, but ultimately it's ACHD that decides.
So it's the same kind of question. So now, thank you for explaining who's responsible for what and how that's managed. Is there some place that I can go to see, what are the plans for this area?
Yep.
That area.
So on on ACHD's website, They have integrated 5-year work plan, and they also have a plan that goes out further in the future that you can go look at that information on what they're planning for these areas. We have challenges out here in Star, being so far away from the core of stuff. We're not getting all the love that I think we should be getting from ACHD to get our roads taken care of, to be honest with you, right? You know, they've collected almost probably $13 million of impact fees that are not being spent in Star, they're being spent in other areas. So we're working on that. We're trying to get them to move up some of these projects on their integrated 5-year work plan, which they have been doing, right? I mean, the Brandon Road project that's going on right now, that actually wasn't slated for until 2 years from now. And so they pulled that forward to get those bridges done so they can do a widening project sooner than later. And the issue we also have is all the old farm country style bridges that we have out here. They all got to be replaced before the roads can get widened. Okay. There is, if you want to look at construction projects in our area on the ACHD's website, there's a thing called RITA, road work in the area. But you can go look at that. You can click on it. It tells you how long that road's going to be closed, what they're doing, and things like that. So they're trying to keep us informed with this stuff, but we just need a lot more love from them to get our roads done so we can traverse internally in our community on there. And I know when issues come up, these two are all involved with that as well, because it's a life safety issue if they have to go all the way around, you know, to answer a call on there. Did that answer your question? Okay. Star Road. Star Road is our only north-south connector in our city, right? From two parts of our city. It's a challenge. We are trying to get ACHD to put on the forefront the widening of that road to get people north and south and to get that bridge done, right? That bridge is a 3-lane bridge. I think it's 3-lane bridge. We needed a 5-lane bridge. It's going to be about a $35 million project. What people need to understand is when that happens, depending on how they decide to build that, if they close it all down for a year and a half, 2 years, what are we going to do, right? Or can we do it like they did in Horseshoe Bend, where they did half of the bridge and then you drove over and did the other half of the bridge, right? Right now they have it slated for 2035. Long time. Doesn't do us none of us any good. So we're trying to get them to move that up. And I would encourage everybody to write a letter to ACHD and say, hey, we want Star Road widened sooner than later on there, because that any help we can get from the community, it's just not us as public officials yelling at them saying, hey, we want to get this done. It's the community saying, listen, get this done. You know, especially with all the money that's being thrown out there at transportation projects in today's world. If that was shovel ready, we could probably have that done. Write to your commissioners, yes, and we'll start working on that. Oh, we forgot that.
I was just going to say, the question was, Mr. Mayor, is there anything that the public can do to help you in that process?
Yes, write the commissioners on that for us to say we want Star Road widened. Now we need some help on that traffic flow there on that. We do have a challenge between, so everybody's aware, we have, and I just looked at updated numbers today, 10,000 vehicle trips a day come out of Canyon County in the Star through Star Road or through Highway 44. That is a lot of vehicle trips. There's 20,000 total vehicle trips at Highway 16, and there's 10,000 at Canyon Road, right? That's a lot of vehicle trips a day. We have a challenge between Star and Middleton with no other bridge crossings. And so we've also been on the forefront of trying to get a bridge crossing at Kingsbury, which would help alleviate some of this traffic if people have an option to get to 2026 and fly in when they get this all done. Widen down here, right? We don't have a bypass in Star. That ship sailed years ago when we had the opportunity. When Eagle had the opportunity for the bypass where they have that goes around their city, Star chose not to do that. So now we're stuck. That's a whole nother animal. We can discuss that one for hours. So, but we're not going to do that right now. But they should have done it because there was a tale of two cities. Myself and Mayor Pierce talked to the mayor there and said, you keep your bypass in. Because you see what's happening in Star with traffic, you see what's happening in Eagle with traffic. Totally two different things, right? Things are flowing smoothly there and not so much here. We did ask for ITD. Mayor Rule and I have been working on trying to get another east-west route north of the cities to connect from Interstate 84 to Highway 16, which will eventually go to Highway 55. So if we get some of that other connectivity, we can start moving traffic around different areas here as well. Okay.
Appreciate you coming, Mr. Pendergrass, but thanks for the extra work the mayor's gonna make me do. So
I've got plenty more with that.
Keep shooting them. I got my email address. Get it.
So I do like the wider sidewalks of the new roads going in, but I noticed there aren't very many bike lanes. Any way you can address that?
Yeah, so that's actually being addressed with the Ada County Highway District's plans of widening. The bike lanes will come in when they do the widening on those. We did do a bicycle pedestrian plan. I think it was 2019. It's on our website that identified all the areas that we want bicycle lanes in, along with better sidewalks. The problem on these collector road or these arterial and collector roads, ACHD doesn't have the developer build those out. They build them out later using impact fees that they're all paying. So that's the challenge we have with getting those things done at the time that developments are happening.
Okay, so like we're like right now with the realignment between Beacon Light and New Oak.
Yep.
No, it's pretty wide there, but still there are no bike lanes. So saying that at some point they may come back in.
Yep.
With the bike
Put
lanes
those
there.
in. Yeah. Yep.
Good.
Other questions?
just real quick, Mr. Mayor, I know that I want to make sure we get to some that were submitted previously.
Oh, online?
Even though these are some great questions here. So I have a question here, and it is, are there any plans for the southeast corner of State Street and Highbrook that you can speak to?
No, that's down. I had to think about where that was at. That's the one that's down here across from Albertsons, right?
That's correct.
So right now there is not plans for that. The gentleman that owns that also owns another like 50 acres up Canada Road. He came in 2020 and hasn't really done anything with that. So that's that open station, that open field right next to Dairy Queen, basically. That's right over there. So there is no plans right now for that section, except for weed mitigation. It is central business district. So yeah, when it comes in, it has to be some sort of, has to fall within our guidelines for central business district.
I'm in the Riverstone again. And so we have a pair of nesting eagles over there. Is there anything there for protection for them, or because it's right against the development?
Mr. Mayor,
Or is
if I
that
might
fish?
address that. This is
Okay,
the city
Ryan Morgan
engineer.
can address that, our city engineer.
I
He's
can,
also a bird watcher.
I'm a very avid birder.
Yes, he is.
But I can tell you that there is a plan in place with the Idaho Fish and Game Department that the developer has to monitor that eagle's nest and has to provide regular reports as to what's happening. So Fish and Game is very aware of that eagle's nest. There's lots of focus on that particular nest, and there are, I wouldn't say monthly, but at least quarterly reports that are being submitted. So for further information on that, you can reach out to Fish and Game. I just happen to know this because it's part of all that development. The developer has submitted some of that information to us as the city, just so we're kept in the loop.
Okay. You got another question online?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I have another one that was submitted previously. It's a little lengthy, so I think I'm just going to try to paraphrase, but it has to do with Albertsons and the brightness of the parking lot and the store itself. And it says, could the city please request that they install some sort of large blinds or shades on their windows to reduce light pollution? And is the city still enforcing dark sky rules?
So the answer to the question, dark sky rules, yes. Albertsons, I think, fell under, when it was built, before we did our update on the dark sky stuff on our code. So they fell under the old code that wasn't there, which is unfortunate. I know staff has been talking to Albertsons about that. My hope is when this new TIs go in and all that trees that get planted, we want to take a look at that at that time and see what that does. I get it, man. It's bright. Those lights are very bright that come out of there, out of that building. We have really taken a big, it's not just there, but over at Ridley's as well. We have a challenge with some of these commercial light poles that are so tall that we're making them reduce those, not the current ones, but future ones, reducing them to a lower level so they don't have so much light pollution. And we're taking a look at where these are being placed. you don't learn it until you see it, right? And then it creates a problem. Then you figure out, okay, guys, we got to do a better job at this and try to protect the neighbors that are right behind these properties on there. But the dark sky, we're very big on that. You know, the new downlighting that we have for our residential areas versus the globes that we have. I mean, Wing Road had or not Wing Road, but Munger had the globes of death is what I called those, because there's 7 globes up there that were just bright as can be. And it looks like we've been hammering that hard enough that they went and changed something on the inside that they're not as bright anymore. But the new styles are all down and captured on the inside. And we look at properties that are on bordering some of the larger properties we have, about making sure that some of that lighting is in the soffits versus on the back of the houses and things like that, so we can keep that light pollution from happening. So,
Sorry,
go ahead.
Go ahead. Just a couple more from online. Have some questions that people would like you to just talk a little bit about some of the changes that are going on in the parks.
In our parks?
Correct.
Okay, so we have been very aggressive over the last couple of years on making sure that we have amenities for our community to utilize and for everybody to utilize. Apparently there's a call. Yeah, okay, good. He went out pretty quick. So we're doing some stuff like at Hunters Creek Park right now. A couple years ago at Hunters Creek Park, the areas between the baseball fields, we concreted that in. We put the big pathway that went around and put a path on the east side of the park so it's more usable for everybody. Right now, what we're doing over there is we're putting a huge playground system in. About 2019, we had a bunch of parents come in and talk about what they would like to see on these playground system, and we are finally getting that done. It's almost done over there. It's just waiting for the rubber stuff. We have to have 40 degree weather and rising for this stuff to set up correctly over there before we can open that up. On the skate park, years ago when the skate park was built, it was supposed to be built with a shade structure that never got done. And so we're finally putting the shade structure in over there so parents can sit there under the shade, watching their kids skating or watching the kids out in the park skating. We did the dog park here last year, which is like a dog paw from the air. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It's kind of cool looking. But in that same area, in the pavilion area, we have plans for a splash pad that we're working on right now, pickleball courts and some basketball courts to be placed over there as well. There also is an opportunity for a future recreation center on that property that we had designed in 2019 that has indoor basketball, some indoor workout stuff, you know, the different spin class. I mean, the guy talking about spin classes and stuff, that's me, right? But different spin classes, I think racquetball style stuff, swimming pool, and a bunch of classroom space for different classes that we can do. So there is plans for some of that. It's going to take a donor or it's going to take a bond. And my prefer is to get a donor versus running a bond and having people pay for that, right? We have Freedom Park down by the River House. We did the River House in 2020, which has become really very popular. We have the Keebler elf tree down there. If you guys haven't seen it, it's kind of cool. But we got Freedom Park next to that, which is 60 acres that we're working on right now. We're just working on our final agreement. It's going to be a public-private partnership on getting that built. There's a developer of Heron River wants to put $500,000 into that project, which is great for us as a city, which will have pathways along that. You'll see that we built Dockzilla, is what we call it. It's a huge dock in the pond that people have been fishing on, that will have we'll rent paddle boards and stuff. You go paddle boarding in that pond. You can swim in that pond. There'll be beaches and stuff like that out there. So we're doing all these different things. What are you laughing at? Oh, I'm like, what did I say? Did I say something wrong? Because sometimes you'll laugh at me if I say something wrong. But we'll have we're just trying to get all this done. We talked about the bridge going over the river, trying to get that done, right? And we've got this master pathways plan that we're doing north and south to try to interconnect the community. We're almost done with our agreement with the ditch companies. I don't know if you guys know, but the ditch companies have the most rights in the state of Idaho. They're way up here on the rights, but we're finally getting to an agreement where they're going to allow us to utilize their easements on some of these places for pathways and stuff to interconnect our community. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, before Dana has a question from online, if I want to follow up on all of these parks and the improvements, how can I do that?
You go to our city's website and under the organization tab under parks, has all these different parks and the different plans we have going on there. Okay, Ms. Dana?
Hey, Michelle is online. Back to the lighting question. She'd like to know, do existing communities with the globe style lighting, are they required to change it to downward style lighting?
No, we can't force the community to incur an expense for that to change them to a down style light. We'd encourage it to happen. I believe we can work with, sometimes with Idaho Power, depending on the style of lights that they have, to get those switched out to a more LED style light for less energy being used, but we can't force those communities to do that.
All right, Mr. Mayor, we're getting close here, but some more questions online just to summarize them. Can you talk about some of the new businesses that are coming to town?
Yep. They're great. So we have some, if you notice, we've had some great businesses coming. We did put on our website a list of all the businesses that are coming in. There's others that we can't talk about yet that will be posted on that soon. But we have different eateries. We have different boutique style things that will happen as soon as some of these other stores or storefronts are open to put these TIs in. We do have different groups looking at all this commercial along Highway 16 and 44. Had some meetings with them last week, which is going to be awesome for us as a community. So, but I can't give you specifics on those yet. Jugs. So I want to talk about some things that we are doing. If you did any other questions yet? Okay. So just so you guys are aware, so we have updated our comprehensive plan twice. And what we did is we understand that we have a traffic nightmare. Not every community needs to be dense and whatnot, like Boise or Meridian is or whatnot. So we reduced our comprehensive plan, basically took 40% of the density out that was available. But you can't go much lower than that because otherwise our sewer systems aren't going to work. They got to have certain densities in there in order for the sewer systems to scrub and run those systems. With that said, we have done some stuff to look at how can we make certain that these guys stay whole with the growth we have, because the state of Idaho with House Bill 389 limits our ability to collect new construction growth into our property taxes. So property taxes in Star, we're only 1/12 of the property tax the city is of all the property taxes you pay. We levy only $1.7 million in property taxes to a $3 billion value in our city. That's a lot of value and very little property taxes as a city goes. So with that limitation of 8% growth, we only can increase our property taxes by a maximum of about $140,000 to $150,000, depending on where that 8% falls in there every year. It costs that much to add one new officer every year. Okay, kind of crazy, right? So we put a mitigation fee structure in place last August, somewhere in that time frame, or last summer, early summer. I met with the Building Contractors Association to let them know our challenges that we're having because we can't sustain it. It was unsustainable. You know, COVID created a nightmare, not just in one way, but in many ways. It created a huge influx of people moving out of areas to come here because of how we are, right? And who we are. Well, that creates a challenge for everybody here too, because we have to provide the public safety services. We need to be able to provide the roads. We need to be able to provide the schools. And quite frankly, this state wasn't ready for any of that, but it happened. And so we were trying to find ways to mitigate that. And so I went to the BCA and said, listen, I cannot continue to grow with this number of houses unless you can find a way to help support my police and my fire to hire the people to provide the services that we need. And so they came up with me a plan it's almost $2,000 and something dollars, $2,100, I think total, somewhere in there, of every new house that's built has to pay a mitigation fee, which part of it goes to the fire and part of it goes to the police to help pay for the personnel. We do impact fees in Star on almost everything. We have park impact fees, we have road impact fees, we have fire impact fees. Canyon Highway District 4 has impact fees to help pay for the capital improvements, but you can't use impact fees to pay for people. So he's got enough money to build a fire station, just not enough money to staff it. Whereas police, we could add 1 or 2 police officers at a time. He has to add 9 in order to staff a station. So that's our challenges that we're facing. So we put these mitigation fees in place, which we think is going to help provide us with this stopgap to get these personnel in place until such time that your property taxes go up to cover those services. 100% of the property taxes from the city of Star pays for our police. So $1.7 million pays for our police. On the fire district is a separate taxing district of the 12. All of their funding goes to their staffing pretty much for all of the stations that they have, right? So we're always looking at ways and avenues to try to make certain that we can handle what's happening, right? Roads are a different story. I can't control the roads. And that's my biggest frustration is if I can control the roads, we can do so much more, I think. That's me thinking big, right? We can do so much more with our roads. The schools, different animal altogether. And that's a whole battle that the state is having right now on how to fund schools, right? We've been asking them to put impact fees in place for schools, but quite frankly, a high school costs $60-something million. There's no way that you could put enough impact fees on houses to cover that. So there's always going to have to be a bond unless the state wants to help fund that somehow. But we're looking at these different options and different things. We have a capital plan for our parks that we keep executing. So the ARPA funds, here's some things, the ARPA funds, the funding money that we all got from the federal government here a couple years ago, we utilized those ARPA funds to help these 2 organizations. We bought a ladder truck for our fire department, which helps us tremendously here in the future to be able to service these buildings and provide different avenues of fighting and attacking fires and stuff, which has been awesome. And Chief Timinsky, you want to talk about somebody who's very frugal with his money? He was able to find a ladder truck in Pennsylvania that usually about 1.6, 1.7 million for $900,000. That had 5,000 miles on it. So they look at all this stuff, and we're trying to help them as a city. With the part of the ARPA funds, we built a police station right on to the fire station's property over there. Okay, so we have a public safety building. They were stuffed upstairs in this little area, and all the crap that they pulled out of there when they moved, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, where's that stuff at, right? But this new police station is going to serve us for several years into the future. I'll pay for with the ARPA funds to try to get that done, so it didn't have to come back to you directly as a property taxpayer. I get it. We're all paying for this in the future anyway, right? On the federal side, but it's a different animal there. But then we use these mitigation fees to help put these folks in place so we can make sure that we provide that public safety for our community out here. So we're always looking for stuff out there. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I have another question online. Are there any updates on the cherished estates development that was supposed to be on Floating Feather across from Brandon Street? It still hasn't broken ground.
Correct. So have you seen any construction drawings?
Construction drawings for both phases of Cherish Estates have been approved for 6 months.
Okay, so that shows you what the market's doing right now, right? So the construction drawings for Cherish Estates have been approved for 6 months. Nothing's happened with them. A lot of times in the past, when everything was going crazy, as soon as they were approved, they were out there with their track hose
Before they were approved.
working on, right? Or before they were approved. So we do have some developments that are sitting idle. We do have some developments that are full steam ahead. I mean, it's interesting to see the different things that are happening with the different builders and the money that they have behind them on stuff. So, okay, any others online? Did you want to say anything about specific about police or about any reporting that we're doing?
The only thing I want to add to the mitigation fee too is we just got last city council. I got approved from the city to be able to apply for a grant. One of the things that you've all probably noticed the traffic out there and the amount of traffic that goes through the city of Star. You just talked about 10,000 coming from Canyon side on Highway 44. There's about 16,000 vehicles that go up and down Highway 44 every day. So when you only have 1 or 2 deputies on at a time, it takes a lot of manpower to be able to be out there and doing traffic enforcement. So one of the things to help, because we need more personnel with Star Police, we end up finding that we found a grant that will reimburse us man hours, 2,080 man hours for deputy work traffic enforcement. The deadline actually is today for that grant. I submitted it yesterday. I called today, just make sure they got it. If they had any questions, hopefully they select us for that grant, but it's a way for us to be able to fund another deputy without trying to get city taxpayers to front that bill. The other thing I just want to add in is every month I get in front of city council and I report on the police report. That police report we put together, and if you have any ideas or have any concerns about it, my phone number is always available. You can always come by the office. I really want that to be utilized by the public to look through and see what we're doing. One of the things that I push my deputies hard to be proactive. I want them out there making traffic stops, talking to the public, even if that means that they play basketball at the skate park with them, or I guess there's not a basketball.
Playing basketball at the skate park.
But
We haven't put anything up out there, but hey.
to get out and actually see the public and be out there and be proactive before that, because there is a correlation between how proactive we are and how much crime goes up. More proactive we are, the crime rate stays low. And so again, every month it goes on the city website for that. This next city council, I'll be giving this report that I have with me and also the 2022 year report. Take a look at it, and if you have any concerns or questions, I'd love to answer those.
Yeah, and this talks about just so everybody is aware, person, property, society crimes kind of gives you an idea, and then it breaks down police call activities, and you can see the proactive calls versus the reactive calls and stuff like that, which is really cool information for everybody to look at and gives us an idea. In our comprehensive plan, we put in there that we want 4 minute or less response times. We're looking for 1 to 1,000 ratio on police. City of Boise is trying to get to 1.8 per thousand over there. They just announced that's an incredible amount. We've been sitting around the 0.65, 0.7 number for quite some time, but I think we're up to about 0.85 with some of the stuff that we've done. So we're getting close to that 1-to-1 ratio, and these mitigation fees should help with that. In the comprehensive plan, we talked about the response times for the fire department. I think the 5 minutes and less. What was the other factor? There's another factor in there as well. But everybody, we do have a fire station plan for Floating Feather Road over there as well in the future. That development was required to provide the land for it. That's on Floating Feather, right across from the church on Floating Feather and Plummer. That's providing the land for it. And let me tell you, this is the frugal side of Greg again too. Can I brag about it? Is that okay? Okay. The other entities will spend up to $1 million for plans for a fire station. It blows me away how much they've spent. I think he spent $65,000 and got his fire station design. Holy cow! Because he's smart about who he's using, and it's negotiation, right? It's not hard. You can negotiate anything to get this stuff done and be done the same way. But go ahead and you could talk about some of that too.
So yeah, the plans for the fire district is in Star. We are planning on fire station, Floating Feather and Plummer in that area, right across from the LDS church there. We have a piece of property. We were planning on doing that and staffing it in 2024. But as Mayor alluded to, is House Bill 389. We used to be able to, before that, we would have grown our budget about $500,000 a year from new construction. And when we got that capped at 8%, it cut it in half. So at that rate and at the cost of equipment, like we have to staff it with 9 people. It's not like the police where you can hire one at a time. We need 9 people minimum to staff a fire station. The fire truck, we bought a fire truck about 1.5 years ago now. That fire truck, if I use the same plans and order it from the same place, is now $900,000 instead of 600 or it was just under 700,000. And they're 38 to 42 months when we used to be able to get them in 10 months. So planning ahead, we're trying to plan ahead to figure out how we're going to get fire apparatus, how we're going to get the funding for staffing. We have the city of Star that is helping us with those mitigation fees. We're looking at applying for a SAFERS grant, a federal grant that pays the first 3 years of wages and benefits for the employees. But unfortunately, in the whole United States, only 300 departments a year get that grant. So there's strict criteria for it. We're going to try to apply for one on the Middleton side this year. And then we'll see what happens with that one. We are close to the 1 to 1,000 ratio in the Star Fire District. We're just barely under that. On the Middleton side, we're we're probably 0.75, 0.65. So we're trying to get that up, and the call volume there is a little bit higher than it is in Star, because the Middleton part of our district is 110 square miles and the Star is 55 square miles. So it's double the size. The Middleton district goes all the way into Gem County. We have property in Middleton and Gem County, not Middleton City, but it's in Gem County, but it's part of the fire district. Where the Star Fire District is in Eagle city limits, Star city limits, Middleton city limits, and then unincorporated Ada and unincorporated Canyon County. So we're all over.
Hey, you want me to ask questions or you got a question? Go ahead. Go on.
I was just going to say, Mr. Mayor, can you just take a minute and talk a little bit about our sports and recreation department?
Yeah.
And the big news that they just had and how that's going to benefit the entire community and the things that they offer.
So we have three outstanding folks that help run our sports and recreation for all of our youth. We have Annie Pugh, Kim Ingraham, and Ron Weston. And here's during COVID, we didn't shut down our youth activities. We kept them going, which was not popular on some occasions, but I didn't care. But our kids were able to stay active, mentally healthy. We get several thousand kids that run through these programs every year with all the classes that we run and all the sports activities that we run. Annie wrote a grant with some information from Kim and Ron and was able to obtain an $80,000 grant for us to add a lot more equipment for a lot of our classes, which is awesome. I can't believe we got an $80,000 grant for a small town like this. And she was just awarded it last week. And we're going to utilize that. There's a section between the Star Fire and Star Police, and we're going to move some of our recreation opportunities over in that area with using some of this grant to help fund some of the equipment that we're going to need in there, which is great. I think we have a great, very robust program. A lot of opportunities for kids, a lot of opportunities for adults. I love art. Which some people find interesting, but I like to do artistic stuff. My wife takes these classes too, and we have fun. I mean, I encourage everybody to go out there and look up these classes that we offer between the Chai Chis, the yogas, the art classes, the sports activities, the pickleball about killed me. You're not supposed to dive, I guess, in pickleball, and I did. The Richter scale went off a little bit on that one too, but we have some really cool stuff for sports and activities coming up here in March. You guys will see, if you haven't been around for a long time, Hunters Creek is just going to be packed full of kids, right? We'll have West Valley Little Leagues be using our baseball fields this year because they lost their home. Believe it or not, to development. That was there for over 30 years and they lost that. But we were able to provide them with the space. The city of Eagle is actually building a sports complex up off of Highway 16 in that Spring Valley development, which these kids will move to. So you'll see a lot more going on collectively with the sports and recreation activities around here. Questions? Sure. You got to have a microphone, Chris. You came in late.
Saying that for the Hunters Creek Park with West Valley now coming in and being a participant there, plus Star Rec programs utilizing the fields, plus the skate park, plus the jungle gym, I guess you'd say. Are we going to be able to look at allowing parking on Floating Feather? Because I don't know how we're going to be able to fit all the. I think as it goes.
Yeah, on the playground side of it, I don't think it's going to change a lot, right? Because I think the playground is going to be utilized more with the parents that want to watch their kids play and let the other ones go over there and play.
Sure.
I think we can see more of that, right? I don't know about the Floating Feather thing is dangerous. And that's why we try to enforce that and don't let anybody park on there, because people park over the sidewalk. When they back up in the traffic. And to me, it's not worth it for about 15 spots, the way people park. I think we're underutilizing that southern parking lot because people don't want to walk. right? Go park and walk, right? I mean, that's easy enough to do. So I
Will this
think,
be the first year that West Valley has used those fields?
no, West Valley's used them in the past, but not exclusively for all their program. Not all their program, for the majority of their program, right? So, but it's still going to be the same number. It's just going to be spread out a little bit differently. Same number of folks parking there and using those baseball fields and whatnot Monday through Saturday.
Because when I park in that neighborhood, there's a couple of angry neighbors when I park next to their houses. Second follow-up question, you commented on the Spring Valley Recreation Park area. I noticed that now we have 2 construction entrances coming off of 16, one for ESI that's to the north of Equus. Now it looks like people are using Equus Lane coming off of 16. What's the city's view of what that access should look like off of 16 coming into that facility?
On the Eagle side?
Yes.
So on the Eagle side,
north and cutting into where that, say, park area will
Right.
actually be.
So what's going to happen in the long term on that is there'll be limited access to the park right there off of 16. They'll have to go down the road closer to Firebird, where they're going to build that overpass and access it that direction.
Linder Road.
Or Linder Road. Yeah. Yeah. So that's going to change some of that a little bit.
Yeah, I just noticed that they punched in those 2 construction entrances, and I'm like, oh gosh, this is going to be a show.
It'll be a show for a little bit while they're doing that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions or anything?
I can talk a little bit about Spring Valley.
So we can talk about that one because it's already approved and it was the city of Eagle. So we don't have anything to do with that one. Just so you guys are aware, it wasn't us.
So for the next 3 to 5 years, they're going to put the Eagle Rodeo there too. We got a phone call the other day. Victor and I are supposed to meet with that guy this week or next week. The entrance is Equest Lane, and the emergency exit is the construction entrance. So we're going to look at that with them. I don't know the time frame of that. They're supposed to start that sports park this year.
Yep.
I don't know how fast they're going to go. The Equest Lane is going to be the main entrance for the first, I want to say 250 lots that go in there. And then once it hits 500, they have to do Linder Road. They have to extend it. I haven't been up there in a while. The road is supposed to have been cut in. It's called Aries Lane or Aries Road. It is at the cell tower when you're going up Highway 16, or that cell tower on the right-hand side as you're headed up there. It comes in right there. And that road is slated to go all the way down to get down to the sports park and down to those houses. And then it also goes all the way to Willow Creek. That's the Eagle Road, turns into Willow Creek. And then from Willow Creek, it goes all the way to 55. So that's going to be a connecting road.
East-west.
East-west from 16.
There's supposed to be that developer's required to put in an overpass right there too for connection on the 16 at some point as well over there.
I don't know. I don't know for the rodeo. The question is there a turn lane for the rodeo? I don't know what they've worked out with ITD. I was surprised that ITD was going to allow that, but he says he's had a conversation with them. So
I will tell you, we'll probably get involved a little bit for safety aspects of that. I would guess we'll have to, because right there on that corner is a dangerous corner anyway. And how are they going to get all that traffic in and out and whatnot on that rodeo when it happens? So, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything else from you guys yet? I'm not trying to think. Ryan, anything else that you can think of?
Right now, it looks online is quiet with some thank yous for the answers that you've provided. Dana's checking her notes real quick from everything that they've submitted. Looks like you've covered everything that has been asked so far.
Anything else you guys can think of that is burning on your mind a little bit? I know traffic burns on everybody's mind and on mine too. Yes.
My concern is the exit from.
Oh, microphone. We got to do the microphone. We got people online.
Let me limp over here. There you go.
So my concern is the exit from is DeWalt winery. I know they have a lot of cars that go in and out of there and it dumps right on 16.
Yep.
That can't be safe.
It's not safe. And I do know, I thought that they were working with the city of Eagle at some point. I don't know. So we'll have to just talk with ITD as we get closer with all the what's going on up there to try to make that safe. I will tell you, the city of Star has been very proactive right now on limiting access on the Highway 16 because that's going to be an expressway. They're already doing their environmental study, redoing it from Highway 44 all the way to Emmett. And so if we have developments going up along that way, we're requiring different access points. The only access they would have would be an emergency access outside of their development. That would be bollarded. So they couldn't get out unless the chief comes out there and they got to move people out for whatever reason. So we're doing what we can to try to work on that access on 16 because I think in the long term, 16 is going to connect up towards New Meadows at some point anyway. I think they're going to reopen and look at that Indian Valley side of making that a new highway going north at some point.
So, Mr. Mayor, will you take just a couple of minutes and talk about the timeline for the work from Star Road West to Bent Lane? What can people expect over the course of the next couple of months? And where can they go on the website to find the most current updates and traffic impacts?
So the goal, real quick, to start with that, we Miss Dana over here is going to be doing a lot of updates on our website about this construction project going on. Right on the staridaho.org at the very top, there's a little red banner, I think it is, that says roadwork construction or something up there. You click on that, it'll take you to the ITD page that we've established on our website. Starting tomorrow, I believe, they're starting with the westbound lanes to widen that section. So all the traffic is going to be shifted to the south. There'll still be 2 lanes through there. Okay, we're not losing any lanes, we're just shifting the lanes. That's why they had to go take out those concrete medians. I've seen comments. I've seen so many interesting comments. Why would they tear those out when they just put them in? Well, ITD didn't put them in, the developments put them in. They were required to put those in as part of their development, right? Some of our challenges we had last week was how deep some of those concrete abutments were in the road, which caused the issues that we had. But they're going to start on the milling, right? As that was called, milling the road on the westbound side to get rid of some of the top asphalt. And then they'll start working on putting in the fill and all that stuff to get the 2 lanes on the west side completed all the way down. We'll have right turn lanes into Albertsons and a right turn lane built into that to go on the Canada Road also down there. At the same time, they're going to continue that all the way down to Bent Lane. We're going to put a center turn lane in from Canada all the way to Bent Lane. So we can have some good left turn access without stopping the traffic on 44 to go north on Canada Road if you're heading eastbound on 44. I think that project's taken somewhere in the tune of 49 days or something like that on that side. And they're going to shift to the south side and shift everybody north. So all in all, this whole project is supposed to be done by June 15th. So it's a pretty fast project, believe it or not, which is be fantastic to get that done sooner than later, right? It's going to be painful. And I've been telling people this for a while. It is going to be painful until that's done. They're going to run into issues like they did on the very first night of the project. If that's the worst issue that we have, oh, thank God, right? But they may run into some other challenges that may cause them to have to stop some of the traffic a little bit. But what we have done is instructed them, if they have to bring it down to a single lane of traffic for whatever reason, the work has to be done at night. So it doesn't impact our rush hour commutes, right? So that's the Highway 44. Then a lot of comments get made about the widening of the section from Star Road to Highway 16 on 44 about the businesses down here. None of those businesses are going to be impacted. There is 5 lanes already there. So anybody that's been here for 10 years, when they came in here and resurfaced this, it used to be 4 lanes on both, or 2 lanes on both sides. They made it just a 3-lane road with some parking on the road. The parking will go away. In fact, we're looking at trying to get that done in June also and spreading out that traffic all the way down here in front of City Hall so we can start flowing things in and out a lot more, right? The widening, the true widening will take place down here on this section of the Highway 16 when they get that going in 2024. Well, they were never able to park there to begin with, just so everybody's aware. It's a state highway. It's not supposed to have parking on there. If we notice on the, for whatever reason, on the Merck side, there's no parking. But on this side, there is. I can never figure out why we did that. But we are working as a city to try to create some downtown parking areas off the beaten path a little bit so people can park and walk to different places out there.
Oh, you gave me more work last time. I gave you.
You mentioned Canada. Are there plans to put traffic lights there? Canada?
That's a great question. ITD originally had that what's called an R cut, which forced everybody to take a right turn, go down to a Michigan left turn and come back. That was the original plan, and we've been fighting that like crazy as a city. They've agreed to change that to a light. So there will be a light there at some point in the future. My guess is when we start widening that section going west from Canada to Blessinger. My hope is with this proportionate share money, we can move to the next segment because the city of Star is going to go all the way out to Kingsbury. We're already there. Okay. Our city limits go to Kingsbury. So we need to control that section and try to get that widening using that proportionate share. But we did get that switched and there will be a light there. It's supposed to be a light at Blessinger. And it's supposed to be a light at Kingsbury, I believe, too, right? Where the fire station is. We did get approval for half mile. So the state of ITD has rural and urban highways. And so you have to get them switched because on the urban highway, on the rural highways, you can only have lights at every 1 mile, right? On the urban highways, you can get them at every half mile. And so we got some of that switch to where we can get a half mile segment where we can get north south traffic going. So it's not all on Canada. It's not all on Blessinger. It's not all on Kingsbury.
And you mentioned that on the other intersection, I can't remember where it was down by the church. I think they put some conduit in.
Yeah, down there at Palmer.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Are they doing the same thing here with the work we're doing? Are we
no,
sort of with that in mind?
On this one, no, because they're going to have to. We're putting that center turn lane in for a safety valve for right now. But at the time of widening, well, they'll have to tear it up anyway and put in that conduit at that time. Yeah. Yep. Yes, you're welcome. No more work for him. She has a question, right?
One compliment I want to share. I was pleased with the signage for the new establishments, the McDonald's and the Dickies, that it wasn't like supersized signs.
Yep.
Some of those establishments really like to advertise those as far away as they possibly can. So I wondered if you could maybe elaborate on the zoning on sign ordinance, especially on Highway 44.
Sure. So we are in the process of revamping our signage ordinance to begin with. It's very old and outdated. There are certain things that are, because when we're talking signage ordinance, it's more than just business signages too. It also talks about other things that have been deemed in the old codes to be unconstitutional that we have to update on there. But well, and that's some of that, yeah, that we'll talk about when we do our revamp of our sign ordinance. These, like the McDonald's, we have a sign height, I think, of 20 feet, I think is what we have. We don't allow billboard signage along Highway 44 and Star. It goes for a pretty extensive design review with him to start with Ryan. So that's part of what his job is to look at all those sign applications that come in. We did have a challenge at the very beginning when we really select with the dental office down by Pinewood Lakes. When that sign, they could pretty much read it up in Hillsdale. It was so bright, right? The one that was on the side. And so we actually are looking at these things and bringing this stuff up ahead of time to make certain that we don't have those issues with brightness and whatnot out there. So we're looking at it. We haven't got it all finalized, but we are working on all of that through our town on there.
I just add, Mr. Mayor, that those feather flags you mentioned and all that kind of stuff, everything that you see along 44 that's not attached to a building is currently against our code. The mayor and the council have been very generous, though, to allow our businesses the opportunity to advertise and to tell people that they're there. So at such time that the mayor and the council directs code enforcement that those things have outlived their time, you'll see those things.
Which
get
will
cleaned.
happen after, we're gonna give them some time to, I mean, they gotta be able to advertise just a little bit, right? He's also our code enforcement guy. He's my assistant city planner. He helps run my parks and rec, so I keep throwing things on him. We have a very lean staff here in Star, which is really good in reality. We get a lot done for the lean staff we have. But well, there's gonna get to a point where those flags and stuff will eventually go away on there. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's just a comment. We like those.
I just want to say we really appreciate all of you. It's been quite an interesting thing to come from a whole nother state to a small town in a fairly good sized state with fewer people. And just to see how you run the city. And it's been a pleasure that you are allowing us, that you're listening to us and not just doing what you want to do. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and my philosophy has always been, you guys elected me to do a job. It's just not about me. It's always about us. And the council has the same feeling about that, right? When we do these comprehensive plan updates and stuff, that's why we get everybody involved. We had 1,000 people in the last update make comments. You know, we'll do updates on those more often as time goes, as we see what the trends are, right? So I do appreciate the comments on there, but I mean, I'm only here if you want me to be here, right? If you don't, I go fishing. I mean, or hunting, one of the two out there. So thank you. Anything else, guys, on that? We're going to do one of these more often with these guys. You have information for the police. These poor guys sat here for an hour and a half. You know, it's like my bouncers or something. I don't know on there. But thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Oh, I'm glad I saw these. So can I see those real quick from you? Can I steal those? I know they're your notes. I'll give them back, I promise. But Dana does a great job of trying to get information out on how to testify at public hearings. I encourage folks to come to the public hearings and testify. It's important, but please understand the laws and codes in here are way different than where you came from, right? So understand the laws and the codes, but come and testify to the hearings. Take the emotion out of the hearing. Emotions don't do any good. We have to follow the law and the code that's established. Okay, that's the important part of it. If you see something that you want to have changed, please reach out to us and we'll take a look at it. I mean, if you're thinking about it, I'm sure others are thinking about it as well, right? But these are cool little pamphlets that Miss Dana has put together. We try to get as much information out on our website and on social media. I hate social media, but we get it out on social media as well. So it's dangerous. I was just at the middle school at the 8th graders at a career day. They wanted to talk about becoming a mayor at the city council. It was very, very interesting conversations we had with these 8th graders over there, which was awesome with them too. But I told them social media, be careful what you do on social media today, because it can ruin you in the future, guys. Right? So be careful with that. So very important. So thank you. Reach out to us at any time if you have questions or whatnot. Come to the council meetings. Come and talk to these two guys right here. We're all open. Okay? Awesome. Thank you, guys.